Were telling us to expect something big in the 20-foot category, but we never knew exactly how big it was going to get.
But those waves are so big, they could kill you in a second.
People do critical extreme things, jumping out of planes, climbing mountains, going in environments where they don't get along naturally, like out in the ocean. The tow-in phenomenon has been going on for some years now. The first guys I saw getting into it were Derek Donner, Laird Hamilton, and Buzzy Kerbox. And they had the Zodiac with a motor on it, and they were towing in the outer reefs, outer backyards. I saw them one really big day at outside Laniakea, riding macro waves, just bigger waves than it would be feasible to paddle out to. I would never see guys paddling out to these breaks that they could easily get to with the Zodiac, with the outboard motor. Shortly after that, the jet ski gained popularity with Brian Kehlana and Terry Ahui, making it accessible for lifeguards to use the jet ski for making rescues. And they just proved that the Wave Runner 3 was an awesome vehicle for us to use to save people way faster than we could ever do with the board or tubes. And nowadays, guys are using, a lot of guys are catching on to this, and they're using the jet ski to tow in, almost like a water ski kind of a deal, where they tow the rider on the surfboard, freeboarding, hanging on to the rope behind, into some of the biggest waves I've ever seen ridden. I've ever seen ridden.
The thing that sticks out is that they just look so small. You know, like you look at them at the bottom of the wave and it just didn't look real. Didn't look real.
Chemistry
these are my tools to surf the most extreme waves on the planet. They're pretty extreme surfboards too. They've been really designed for giant days, and just recently we had the biggest day probably ever surfed.
The last 5 or 6 years, a couple of wine guys have developed this thing where they use straps, and the board design's changed quite a lot. In a wave that's of size 20 feet, we usually use a 10-foot length surfboard to paddle in, but now with the power of the ski, this is a 7-foot 5-inch surfboard, which is plenty enough to surf the wave.
It's all about a board that can handle the high speeds. You're going 2 or 3 or 4 times faster than a normal surfboard. And normal surfboards don't work at those speeds. They're not designed to. A 30-foot wave has got probably 4 times the amount of water in it than a 15-foot wave, or more. You know, it's more than twice as big. It's because of the volume of water in it.
It was exciting. The 8 p.m. buoy reading came out around 9 o'clock that evening, and it was a jump from 11:14 all the way to 25:20 on the buoy readings. And that was the first reading, and it was just like,
Richter.
whoa, hope we can sleep tonight.
Coming, and then we heard the buoy report, and it was just like, ah! We've had so many false calls this year as far as the epic 30-foot swell of life that we're all kind of worn down. I was pretty worn down. I just kind of went, oh well, hopefully it'll be big, see it in the morning. But yeah, I was a little too restless. I tried to go to bed like 10, and I just kind of rolled around in my bed, and I called the 11 o'clock buoy report, and I think that's when it hit, like 20 feet, 25 seconds or something, and that was just like, oh my gosh. I'd never heard anything like that, so it was pretty hard to sleep after that.
We all wake up that morning super early. Milton's ringing me, I'm ringing Pagey, you know, Michael and that. We got together about 7 o'clock in the morning, and we looked at outside log cabins, and it was giant and perfect.
We woke up about 5:30, and Sonny and I went down there and checked it out. And we saw, I don't know, 35, 40 foot, a couple waves that were just death.
Pulled around on the left side of the bay, and on the way down the hill, actually, I could already see how big it was. I was just freaking out. Ah! But I didn't think it was so big that we wouldn't be able to surf Waimea. I thought the eddy was going to be on.
Waimea was not rideable. It was too big. You couldn't get out. There were rideable ways on the outside, but there were these closeouts, the absolute 35-foot closeouts that came through Waimea.
Dwarfing the bay.
Yeah. So I had seen it before. I had been watching since '74. Ever since the first major closeout day I saw at Waimea, we started watching outside logs. So for me personally, and for Dan, I think it was a culmination of 20 years of waiting for an opportunity to surf the spot. It was the day that we waited for, the day that we hoped would come someday.
Like I can remember going out one time, we're just towing out and I'm looking into the pit and I can see this wave just monstering around and just someone takes off and they're just coming off the bottom, and as they're coming off the bottom I'm looking in and I'm going, it looks like that Captain Good Vibes sort of stuff, you know, like the guy's about this big and the wave's about this big. It looked like a cartoon. And I just remember looking in just going, wow, this is the kind of pictures that you draw at school and stuff.
I definitely saw waves that were bigger than 50-foot faces.
It was almost like a cartoon on how small he was on the size of that wall, that face of a wave.
Some of the biggest waves are like that.
Yeah.
Looking back up, it looked like that.
One thing's for sure, that is still the same, that a young folk die fast and nobody, and I live so fast, but they die so young, and we just keep wondering what the hell went wrong. Yeah, they live so fast, but they die so young, and we just keep wondering what goes on. It's such a shame, such a useless shame, that they have to play such a hopeless game, and it makes me shake with rage for a wasted life, for nothing gained, 'cause you die so fast, and I die so young, and you just keep wondering what goes on. You tell me what goes on. You got everything to live for. You got everything to live for. Ain't nothing you wanna die for. No, nothing at all. 'Cause you live so fast, but you die so young, and you just keep wondering.
We made a good decision by by letting the first couple waves go through. We started into it, this building behind us, and I kept motioning to Dan, this is it, this is the one,
Finger down.
this is it, we're going for this one. And there was another ski that yielded and pulled off, and we went down to the ledge, the machine, and we were committed. The ledge was so massive and so
The
big.
trough just stretches out for, it seems like a quarter of a mile. It's phenomenal.
It.
I mean, it's the whole ocean, the bottom of the ocean just drops out.
I just kept going, this is it, we're doing it. I said, just go, go, go. And we just charged into it. And as soon as I had the speed, I let go. And I just put it on rail, and the whole board was just fluttering. It just was so much speed. And I just held my edge through the flutter, and then saw my time to turn and pulled up and just climbed up the face. And it was massive.
He
was massive.
was focused and concentrating on what he was doing and didn't see what was coming up from behind him. I was out in the flats on the machine looking back, and I've never ever seen a wave to that extent before. And after he kicked out, I was ecstatic. I couldn't express to him what he had just completed, and I was going, that was the biggest wave I've ever seen in my entire life, and he killed it.
Let me tell you a story that'll make a shovel turn. Watching out with toys, sure the public never learns. Live sex crimes, shit for they can burn. His sons and his partners who just stand apart and run. And so that everybody sure they get no liberty. Like when the let's experiments in 1943. And until they get numb from the denigration, the devastation of God's creation. For the bill, he fashions for the kill. Drug in the streets, pushes poison without any guilt. The desert persecute, in fear of legal suits. But I'm a piece not a man, so this open is a noose. And I stand opposed to the non-humane. We band to expose and twist the brain. Disdain the brain, I'm unashamed. With side effects to seize the people you know who to blame. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? yeah, torture's done in some heinous ways. As healers of the people they are portrayed. You'll be amazed at the way the people are being betrayed. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Knock it down. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Bring it on. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Knock it down. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Is there a human left in our humanity? Try to find, it's hard to find, try to find just one. Is there a human left in our humanity? Lately it's been hard to find just one. Yeah, British on the merchandise sheet in the magazines. Twist wheel nice for the guillotine. Friend with the chase for an extra fee. Got to make this straight for sanity. And the truth of the person that infiltrated. Show there are one of them mutilated. Violated, devastated, decimated. And all the above ain't understated. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Knock it down. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Bring it on. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Knock it down. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, people? Bring it on.
We looked at I went to top of Comsat Hill, which is a lookout above the coastline here, and I could see just whitewater straight across the whole line. Didn't look like there was any breaks where you could actually get out through the breaking waves, even with the jet ski. But we had to wait for a little while, and then we found a lull, a break in the sets, and Tony and I were motoring through chops, which is like just from the rip and all the movement of the water, which were like 10 feet high in themselves. And with the jet ski just going down into big holes, like 10-foot holes coming straight up vertically, we got flipped off doing that, just getting out. And then we jumped back on, and then we were lucky we just got straight out through the break. Anyway, we get out there, and Tony and I looked at each other and went, okay, who's first? I didn't really give him much time to think about it. I jumped off.
You just jumped over. It's me, it's me.
I just jumped off and claimed first waves.
Okay, I pulled Ross on a 3 beauties, but we were kind of on the shoulder, so decided to go deeper. And this one wave came and it had a peak, more of a peak than the others. Looked like it had less wall, so went a little bit deeper than before and pulled Ross onto the wave. And by the time I got him onto it, it was too late for me to actually pull the ski off the back. And that happens all the time. You just keep going, you outrun the wave, usually no problem. So I've just full throttle, I'm going for the shoulder, and this section has just started growing and growing, getting bigger. It was enormous. It didn't look real, it was surreal. It was the biggest thing I'd ever seen, you know, coming at me. And I thought, no problem, you know, our machine can outrun anything we've ever encountered before. You just keep going out in front of it and around.
Before.
But I kept looking at this wave, and I realised that it was getting closer, you know. Instead of further away, it was actually getting closer, and I just thought, oh my God, this thing, I think it's going to get me. Didn't look at it again. I just put my basically head down, bum up, full throttle, I'm just trying to get away from it, and hanging on. And next thing I knew, the whitewaters engulfed me, and I lasted about half a second hanging on and just exploded. Up, down, around, under, I don't know where, just everything was gone. I'm like, all I could think of was, where's Ross? Is the jet ski gonna hit me? What's going on? Like, am I gonna die? The jet ski's gonna get smashed to pieces, like everything. It was really heavy, the wave was huge.
Seeing that the thing's walling up too fast, for my speed, I wanted more speed, so I hung onto the ski to try and get more speed. But then I saw Tony straighten out, because he wasn't escaping it, and I had to as well, so I let him go. I tried to straighten out with him, parallel going faster than the jet ski. And then I just wore the whitewater, tried to ride the whitewater for a little bit further, and then I just got evaporated. And then I underwater for quite some time, and I pop up wondering where Tony is to come and get me, save me and pull me straight out. He wasn't there. I was kind of angry, going, where is he, what's he doing? I go into another wave, and I pop up my head, I turn around and just see this purple seat, which is the seat of our jet ski. And then I knew that Tony had been mowed down.
A lot of radical things happened on that day. You know, I feel like history was made on that day. It was, for me, my surfing went up into another level of big waves. It was like, it just felt like, you know, at that time, everybody was just playing their best game.
Just everything came together with the size of the swell, the wind conditions being right. It just made it able for those guys to go out there and ride those big waves, that big a wave here on the North Shore.
Tow-in surfing, it's definitely not, it's a form of surfing, you know, it's not the same thing. But just look at what Laird and those guys have done, Rush and Pete Cabrina and Dave Kalama and those guys in Maui in 5 years, you know. It's opened up a new door for big wave riding. You know, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes in the next 5 or 10 years. It's definitely fun, and it enables us to catch some of the biggest waves ever ridden.
A swell like that, I've seen waves that big, but I didn't know that they could be clean like that. That was like it could be a once in a lifetime swell. You might never get to see a swell that big and that clean ever.
Now that the ice has been broken, all of our questions have been answered, whether or not you could ride a wave that large. I think everybody's going to be ready to go to the next level. I think everybody's going to be chomping at the bit to try to see what they can go to. It's possible. It's possible to ride the dream wave of my life. I mean, the wave is so perfect and so big. It's so massive that, and it's not just riding. We're surfing. We're doing cutbacks. We're coming off the lip, out from under the lip. It's surfing. It's surfing at a whole nother level. It's unbelievable.
Would you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep.
Underachievers.
We're trying to create an association. It's called the World Tow Surfing Association. We're hoping to establish the proper procedures and proper etiquette for the sport as it grows, because we're all concerned about the outcome of the sport. This is a first time surfing has ever been a team sport, and it is truly a team sport.
I guess the most important thing is to pick a partner and stick with that one person and work together as a team and pay the dues, you know, do the paddle and surfing, do the fundamentals that it takes to achieve the experience and the knowledge that you need to know the currents and to know the areas that you're going to be towing. Don't just go out there cold turkey and expect to just, you know, rip it up. It's not going to happen, you know.
I think safety is the thing that I think we advocate most. So we're doing everything we can to educate everyone who's in this sport or wants to do this sport to become as knowledgeable as possible. We recommend all the possible courses in first aid, CPR, life-saving, the Coast Guard courses in safe boating. Highly recommend using the rescue sleds to expedite people out of danger. This is all about safety.
Kim Bradshaw kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, you going out there? And take a minute to look at the shore break. And then when I got close enough to see, it was so big that there was just constant walls of whitewater washing through the bay into the lefts, and it would have been really hard to get out. Probably like a 20% chance you'd make it and an 80% chance you'd end up on the rocks and die. So we put our boards down and kind of just fidgeted throughout the whole morning. They were, you know, flirting with holding the contest, but everybody knew it was kind of too big. So we just waited around. As soon as we could get out of there, we were gone. We knew where to go. Outside logs was going to be the call. We've been talking about it for a long time, and that was the day.
And when we get down to outside log cabins, we watched for like a half an hour before we ever ventured into it. We wanted to make sure what we were getting ourselves into. We were, as usual, safety first, everything for preparation. Dan and I have worked so hard, so long in the last 3 years, preparing for a day like this, that when it came, we were right on. We were on, absolutely on. We made no mistakes. We had a great session. Must have caught 20 waves apiece, 4 or 5 of which were all over 30 feet. So.
I think it was smart to watch, to wait and watch a half an hour. There's an inside peak that I think when it exceeds 40
feet, yeah, it goes off.
It actually unloads, and that's a whole nother program that you really have to be ready to deal with.
It's short-sighted of people to think that they're going to have the answers once they get on a wave. You need to really research the situation you're getting yourself into. It's something I've learned from surfing Waimea and the outer reefs. We didn't just do this. We didn't just paddle out there. We didn't just take the machine out there. We planned it all. We prepared ourselves, and even on the day when we got there, it was a situation where we watched, like we said, for 30 minutes at least, and watched several waves and rode in and out with them. And because we had seen it. We've seen it where the section, the big bowl section, the big barrel section, just folds in and closes out. And so we were making sure what we were up against.
Guys have had their eye on that spot, that outer log cabins, for quite some time. Ken Bradshaw has been waiting for that day. He's been out there when him and Ace Cooler tried to paddle into him back in maybe '84 or so. And finally he's got the vehicle, he's got the towing vehicle, and he knew where to go, and he was out there that day. waiting for that macker set that would come in, that his partner Dan would tow him into.
So for me personally, for Dan, I think it was a culmination of 20 years of waiting for an opportunity to surf this spot. It was the day that we waited for, the day that we hoped would come someday. And now that we could tow surf and we could get to the waves, we knew it would be everything we hoped it would be, and it turned out to be absolutely everything we hoped it would be.
And better.
Yeah.
Ken was definitely the standout. He got the biggest waves, the best. And when Roscoe and T-Ray lost their ski, Noah Johnson and David and myself were helping them out, and that took a lot of time, so we missed a lot of waves. But Ken was definitely the standout that day.
The board was so confident. We were so confident. The board worked so well, and I felt so good on it. I wish we could have more. We wanted more. We wanted to get deeper. We wanted to,
5 feet.
Yeah, the board had handled 5 feet easy, and the distance it made the turn was well within the parameters of the wave that was being offered.
I think what's happening is, over the last few years, we've become so accustomed to 20, 25,
and 30.
We're becoming
30.
jaded. You become a bit of, numb to the size. It just becomes second nature. It's like driving on the freeway. Just jump in your car and go. And so now we're reaching out, looking for something a little bit bigger.
To me, it looked like it was 35 to 40 feet solid, just giant, probably the biggest, it is the biggest waves ever ridden over here.
I think through the times, through the ages, we've talked about Kinda Point and talked about other spots, and I've always maintained that log cabins would be the largest rideable wave because of its configuration, because of its reef formation, because of the deep water channel on the other side. It is just tailor-made for the biggest waves. Kinda Point might be possible, but it has so many varying problems with currents and cross swells.
The wind factor.
And the wind factors. I think log cabin has got to be the spot.